There is one undeniable truth: death is certain. No matter how rich or poor, wise or ignorant, every one of us will eventually reach the end of this journey called life. And yet, from this very impermanence, a profound question arises: what's the point of living, then? In the whirlwind of ambition, success and failure, fleeting joy and recurring pain, is there anything truly worth living for? If death awaits us all, is there any real meaning in each breath, in every passing moment? Welcome to the Dharma journey, where we don't chase after easy answers, but instead open the door to deep contemplation. Here, we don't fear death, we learn how to live more fully, more consciously, by embracing the reality of our mortality. Let us pause together in stillness, to hear the voice of life, not in panic or denial, but in mindfulness and wisdom. We wake up each morning and go through familiar routines, eating, working, talking to some people, avoiding others, chasing certain desires, fearing certain outcomes. Day after day, the cycle repeats itself, so much so that we sometimes forget whether we're really living or merely existing. There's a truth we all must face: with every passing day, we move closer to death. That might sound grim, but in reality, it's a profound reminder. Because it is death that makes life precious. When we know we won't live forever, every breath, every moment, every glance, and every smile becomes something to cherish. Yet, most of us don't live with that awareness. We carry on as if we have unlimited time, squandering it on anger, regret, competition, and fear. So, what is life really for? Some say it's to succeed. But what does success mean? A high-paying job? Recognition? Wealth? And even if we reach those milestones, why do so many still feel empty inside? Because external success can't fill an inner void if we don't understand who we truly are. Others say it's to be happy. But is happiness something we possess, or is it just a fleeting state? We often think we'll be happy once we have a bigger house, a loving partner, or a stable job. Yet true happiness doesn't come from the outside. It arises when there's peace and acceptance within. Still, some believe life is about love. Perhaps this is the closest to the truth. But love isn't only about loving others, it's also about loving yourself, loving the present moment. And even loving the pain, because it teaches us. Love means giving without expecting in return. It means knowing yourself well enough not to hurt yourself or others. In truth, the question, what is the purpose of life, has no single answer. It's a path we each must walk on our own. For some, that journey leads inward, to examine the nature of the mind, to observe the endless stream of thoughts and desires, and to slowly let go of the illusions we cling to. For others, it's about learning to be fully present, not needing to do something grand, but simply living honestly and wholeheartedly. Life might also be about learning. Learning to let go. Learning to forgive. Learning to face loss and change. Learning to love without clinging. Learning to accept without giving up. Every joy, every sorrow, every stumble and triumph is a lesson life offers. These things don't come to punish us, they come to help us grow. Some people only realize this when they lose someone they love. Others have to confront illness or brush against death before they begin to ask, what am I really living for? And there are a few who, through quiet moments of reflection, find awareness in the simplest things, in the breath, a step, a cup of tea, the morning light. We don't have to wait until it's too late to start living fully. Life isn't somewhere far away, it's right here in the present moment. Not in the past, not in the future, just now. When we live with mindfulness, with awareness of what's happening as it is, everything becomes sacred. A humble meal. A moment of listening. A deep breath. These are the places where life truly reveals itself. In the end, perhaps life is about preparing for death, not with fear or resistance, but with peace. When we live each day fully, we have nothing to regret. Death then becomes just another doorway, a continuation of the seeds we've planted with our actions, thoughts, and intentions. So take a moment. Breathe deeply. And ask yourself, if today were my last, am I living in alignment with what truly matters? Am I following the voice of my own heart? Do I have the courage to let go of what no longer brings peace? If the answer is, not yet, that's okay. You still have this moment. Every breath is a chance to begin again. And maybe, just maybe, when you are fully alive, you'll no longer need to ask what life is for. Because life itself will answer you, in silence, in joy, and in the open-hearted presence of being. There are many things we can avoid in life. We can delay responsibilities, escape discomfort, and sidestep difficult conversations. But there is one truth no one can outrun, death. Whether you're unknown or famous, a powerful king or a wandering beggar, young or old, kind or cruel, we all walk the same path toward the end. And on that path, there are no exceptions. No one who has ever lived has escaped the reality of death. Not even the Buddha. The Buddha passed away at the age of 80, after a lifetime of sharing the Dharma with the world. He did not resist death, did not fear it, nor did he attempt to delay it. Instead, he approached it with complete serenity and peace. His final days became a powerful teaching in themselves, a living testament to the truth of impermanence. All things that arise must pass away. Even the body of an enlightened one. We often fear death not because of the end itself, but because of its uncertainty, its unpredictability and our lack of control over it. We don't know when, where, or how it will come. And that mystery leaves us feeling uneasy. But what's even more unsettling than death, is a life lived without awareness of it. When we forget that our time is limited, we fall into careless patterns. We postpone what truly matters, hold on to grudges, chase shallow desires, and get caught in endless drama. Then, when death comes knocking, we panic, not because it arrives, but because we realize we haven't truly lived. Some spend their entire lives accumulating wealth and status, only to realize on their deathbed that they never once felt deeply at peace. Others live to please everyone, ignoring their own hearts, and only when their time is almost up do they realize they never really lived as themselves. If death is certain, then maybe the real question isn't how long we live, but how we live. It's not about the number of years, but the depth of presence in each moment. A life of mindfulness, kindness, and sincerity, even if short, holds more meaning than 100 years lived in distraction and fear. The Buddha once said, "Better than 100 years lived in ignorance is one day lived with awareness and insight." Death isn't something distant or gloomy, it's always beside us. Every breath might be our last gift. Every morning we wake up is a chance that not everyone gets. When we truly understand that death can arrive at any moment, our perspective changes, we become more grateful, more present, more tender with life. Some people try to avoid even thinking about death. They refuse to hear it mentioned, as if ignoring it could make it go away. But ironically, it's by turning toward death that we begin to live more freely. When we face the greatest truth, that everything we cling to will eventually fall away, we gain clarity. We stop wasting time on things that don't matter. Death is also a great teacher. It shows us what's essential, and what's just noise. It teaches us to let go of petty arguments, pointless grudges, and unrealistic expectations. When we contemplate death, we stop needing to be right all the time. We just want to live honestly, and love deeply. And in the light of death, the most important things often become clear. We begin to see our lives with gentler eyes, less judgment, more understanding. We begin to forgive ourselves for being imperfect, because we know our time here is precious and short. In many meditation traditions, there is a practice called death contemplation, not to cause fear, but to awaken us. Reflecting each day that death may come at any moment doesn't make us negative, it makes us mindful. It reminds us that every word we speak, every action we take, every intention we plant, shapes the quality of our life, and even the grace of our eventual passing. Don't wait for illness to slow you down before you learn how to breathe more deeply. Don't wait until someone leaves your life before you learn how to appreciate them. Don't wait until your final days to ask, what was I really living for? Start now. Live as if today could be your last, not in fear, but in depth. Look at death not as a curse, but as a quiet reminder that time is a gift, and you have the freedom to choose how to spend it. Because death is certain, life, this moment, becomes infinitely precious. And since we don't know what tomorrow will bring, the most meaningful thing we can do is to be fully alive here and now, with a heart that is awake, open, and at peace. Deep within our consciousness, death is a haunting presence, both familiar and distant. Familiar, because it awaits us all. Distant, because most of us choose to live as though it doesn't exist. In today's fast-paced society, where life is constantly bombarded by work, distractions, entertainment, and digital noise, death is pushed far from our awareness. People are too busy, checking emails, scrolling through social media, chasing goals, juggling appointments, to stop and contemplate the deeper realities of life. Death is no longer seen as a natural part of existence, but rather as something dark, taboo, or uncomfortable, something best left unspoken. We avoid death in many subtle ways. When someone passes away, we mourn briefly and then return to the routine. When we feel a strange symptom in the body, we brush it off, masking it with medicine or distraction. In the media, death is often either glamorized, sensationalized, or sanitized, stripped of its raw truth. As a result, we become desensitized, disconnected from death's reality, and even from our own mortality. But why are we so afraid of death? Because death represents an ending, a loss of control, of identity, of everything we've built and held on to. It forces us to confront the fact that we are not invincible. And in an age obsessed with power, permanence, and control, death is the one thing we cannot master. It humbles us. It reminds us of our fragility. And the modern mind, conditioned to crave certainty, finds that unbearable. So, in response, we live as if death isn't real. We make long-term plans, chase endless ambitions, and pour our energy into building futures that we may never reach. We invest in youth, beauty, and success as if these things will shield us from impermanence. We spend hours curating the perfect image online while forgetting that our bodies, no matter how cared for, are slowly aging and fading. The modern human psyche, especially in urban cultures, is deeply shaped by consumerism and individualism. We are encouraged to accumulate, achieve, and chase external validation. But rarely are we taught to turn inward, to reflect on the meaning of life and death. Death, the most natural part of existence, has become the most avoided. Many go through their entire lives without once pausing to ask, who am I, really? What is this life for? If I were to die tomorrow, would I have any regrets? Today, we measure success through visible, quantifiable markers, income, status, social influence. But when death draws near, these measures lose all meaning. No one on their deathbed asks, did I make enough money? Instead, the questions become more tender and honest. Did I love fully? Did I stay true to myself? Did I spend enough time on what truly matters? One of the great ironies of modern life is this: we fear death, yet live as if we will never die. We act as though ignoring death will make us safe, but all it really does is rob us of the depth, honesty, and richness of life. Contrast this with ancient wisdom traditions, particularly in Buddhism, where death is not feared but contemplated. The Buddha taught, reflect on death daily, not to create fear, but to cultivate mindfulness. Contemplating death is not morbid. It's awakening. It reminds us that every word we speak, every action we take, Every moment we breathe is a choice. And those who truly understand the fragility of life live more gently, more sincerely, and more mindfully. Someone who knows death can come at any moment won't delay love. They won't waste time on grudges. They won't be caught up in appearances or shallow pursuits. They will live simply, truthfully, and gratefully. The modern world has achieved extraordinary progress in science, medicine, and technology. We've extended lifespans, enhanced comfort, and connected across continents. But somewhere along the way, we lost touch with the essence of being. We know how to prolong life, but not how to embrace death. We know how to keep breathing, but not how to live in peace. This has led to a society filled with accomplishments, yet plagued by anxiety. Surrounded by comfort, yet often empty inside. Digitally connected, yet spiritually disconnected. To begin healing this fear of death, we must stop running from it. We must learn to sit with it, to look it in the eye. Only then can death become not an enemy, but a teacher, a gentle reminder of what really matters. You don't need to withdraw from the world to contemplate death. Just pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, how would I live it differently? Is this anger I carry still worth holding on to? Am I living in alignment with what matters most to me? These questions don't need immediate answers. Just holding them in your heart can be enough to illuminate your path. Because when you live with the awareness of death, not in fear, but in reverence, you start to live with clarity. You begin to taste each moment more fully. You learn to stop rushing, to stop numbing, to stop wasting the gift of life. And in that quiet awareness, you may discover something beautiful. Life is not just about surviving. It's about waking up, to love, to truth, to presence, before it's too late. In Buddhist teachings, death is not something foreign or dreadful. Rather, it is seen as a natural and inevitable part of life, an expression of the universal truth of impermanence, or anicca. Buddhism does not portray death as a tragedy, but as a transition, like the change of seasons, the waxing and waning of the moon, or the rhythm of the breath. We fear death because of our attachment to the self. We believe there's a permanent I that will be lost forever. But the Buddha taught that there is no unchanging self. What we call me, or I, is merely a temporary combination of the five aggregates: form, the body, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These components are constantly arising and passing away, like a river that never stops flowing. When the body disintegrates, the stream of consciousness continues, shaped by the karma we've created. So in the Buddhist view, death is not an end, but a passage, part of the ongoing cycle of rebirths. If we live mindfully, cultivate wholesome actions, and develop wisdom, death becomes a gentle transition, and our next existence will be more favorable. But if we live in ignorance, clinging and craving, then death brings suffering and unfavorable rebirths. Impermanence, anicca, is the key to liberation. When we see that everything is constantly changing, we stop clinging. Relationships, wealth, status, our bodies, our health, they all shift and fade with time. Nothing remains forever, not even life itself. The Buddha emphasized, all conditioned things are impermanent. Anything that arises due to causes and conditions must eventually cease. The body is impermanent, emotions are impermanent, even thoughts are impermanent. Everything we attach to and use to define ourselves is subject to this flow. Death, then, is the ultimate teacher of impermanence. No one, no matter how wealthy, powerful, or enlightened, is exempt from it. Even the Buddha, after reaching full enlightenment, underwent physical death. He didn't resist the natural law, he embraced it with serenity. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha's final words were, "Be diligent, monks. Be a lamp unto yourselves. Take refuge in the Dharma. All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive diligently for liberation. These were not sad parting words, but a profound reminder: live with awareness, because everything is constantly changing. When we truly understand impermanence, the mind softens. We let go more easily, worry less about loss, and suffer less when things don't go our way, because we recognize that loss is a natural part of existence. Every beginning carries the seed of its own end. The problem isn't death, it's our relationship with it. Some people die with fear, regret, or resistance. Others die peacefully, with a soft smile, ready to let go like a passing cloud. The difference isn't in how long they lived, but how mindfully they lived. Some, even with short lives, find deep meaning because they lived with awareness, kindness, and understanding. In many Buddhist traditions, especially in Zen and Vipassana meditation, contemplating death is a core practice. Practitioners are encouraged to reflect daily on the impermanence of the body, how it ages, weakens, and decays with every moment. This isn't meant to create anxiety, but to cultivate mindfulness. To remember that tomorrow isn't promised, so we must live fully today. There's a popular reflection many meditators recite. This body is impermanent. I will definitely die. I just don't know when. So I must live with awareness. When we anchor ourselves in this truth, we begin to live more deeply, love more honestly, and let go more gracefully. We're no longer obsessed with winning or losing, with getting or keeping. We don't dwell in the past or worry too much about the future. Because in the end, everything, even our worries, will dissolve like morning mist. Impermanence is not something to dread, it's a doorway to freedom. When we understand that nothing lasts, we loosen our grip on suffering. If you're sad today, if you've failed, if your heart is broken, know that this too shall pass. And if you're happy, don't cling to the joy, just enjoy it while it lasts. This awareness brings peace. From the Buddhist perspective, death isn't the end of the story, it's a natural process in the cycle of dependent origination. It's only frightening when we ignore it, deny it, or live as if it won't come. But if we live each day as if it could be our last, not with panic, but with clarity, then when death arrives, it's no longer an enemy. It becomes an old friend, gently leading us through another doorway. No resistance, no fear, no regrets. And that's the essence of what the Buddha taught. To see impermanence clearly is to live fully, to love deeply, and to let go peacefully. Death as the greatest teacher, how it awakens us to life. In the rush of modern life, we often forget a simple truth: our time here is limited. Every day, we wake up, eat, work, scroll through our phones, make plans, as if we were going to live forever. But somewhere beneath all that noise, death quietly walks beside us, with every breath, every passing moment. We don't know if tomorrow will come, yet we live as though death is some distant, abstract idea that doesn't concern us right now. And yet, death is one of our greatest teachers. Not to terrify or defeat us, but to wake us up from the days of distraction, from the sleepwalking way we often move through life. In the eyes of someone who is truly awake, death is not the enemy, it's a reminder. A gentle but firm voice saying, life is fragile. Every second counts. Every breath is a gift. Without death, we wouldn't truly live. If we thought life would last forever, we would endlessly postpone the things that really matter. We'd put off saying, I love you, or I forgive you. We'd hold back from pursuing what gives us meaning, telling ourselves we'll do it later. But because death exists, life becomes urgent and precious. A father who knows his time is short will hold his child a little longer. A wife who understands the fragility of time will soften her gaze when she looks at her husband. A meditator who reflects daily on impermanence will walk more slowly, more mindfully, knowing that every step is sacred. Meditating on death is not pessimism, it's wisdom. Buddhism doesn't teach us to fear death, it teaches us to face it with open eyes. The Buddha encouraged his disciples to contemplate death daily, not to dwell in anxiety, but to live with clarity and purpose. When we remember that this body will age, weaken, and one day return to the earth, we stop wasting it on anger, competition, or meaningless distractions. Death strips away all our illusions of control. Titles, money, accomplishments, none of it goes with us. What remains is how we lived, how we loved, how much peace we carried inside. Death helps us sift through the noise to find what truly matters. It invites us to ask, if today were my last day, how would I choose to live? And that question, if we dare to answer it honestly, can transform everything. Waking up through death. In many Western cultures, people avoid talking about death. It's taboo, uncomfortable. But in Eastern spiritual traditions, death is seen as a natural part of life's cycle. In Tibetan Buddhism, practitioners reflect on death not just occasionally, but every single day. Not because they are morbid, but because they know that facing death brings them closer to truth. When you truly realize that a loved one could be gone tomorrow, your words to them change. When you know your youth won't last, you won't waste it chasing empty pleasures. When you remember that each breath might be your last, you slow down, you listen deeply, and you finally, fully live. Death reveals what's real. People fear death because they're afraid of losing everything. But death, in its quiet and uncompromising way, shows us what we never truly owned in the first place. This body, this identity, these emotions, all of them are temporary. So what's left? What is real? That question becomes the doorway to spiritual practice. In meditation, when we go beyond thoughts and feelings, we touch something deeper, a stillness, an awareness that death cannot touch. That is our true home. In that space, death is no longer frightening. It's just a transition. A return. Living like there's nothing left to lose. When you really know that death can come at any moment, something radical happens. You start living like you've got nothing to lose. You begin telling the truth. You stop holding grudges. You take risks. You let go of trying to control everything. You choose simplicity over status, compassion over pride, mindfulness over momentum. You stop putting off your joy until someday. Death becomes a strange kind of freedom. It teaches you that this moment, this body, this breath, is a miracle. It reminds you that every single day is a rare and sacred chance to awaken, to grow, to love. At the end, peace comes from how you lived. If you can face death with a calm heart, it's not because you avoided it. It's because you've made peace with it. You've stopped pretending you're invincible. You've stopped clinging to things that were never truly yours. You've lived with awareness, not just on the surface, but from the center of your being. And when your final breath comes, you won't panic. You'll smile, because you really lived. You loved deeply. You walked your path with open eyes. Death was never your enemy. It was your teacher, all along. Let me know if you'd like this narrated or paired with soft background visuals for a YouTube script. Living without waste, living right, living kindly, living mindfully. The Buddha once said, "Practice diligently today, who knows if tomorrow will come." This isn't just a reminder about the uncertainty of life, it's a powerful call to live fully, to make every moment meaningful, and to walk the path of awareness and goodness. 1. Life is short, so how will you live it? We often live as if we have all the time in the world. We delay what truly matters. Get caught in distractions, routines, and endless to-do lists. From the moment we wake up, many of us are swept into a stream of news, tasks, expectations, and noise. But how many days have we lived fully present, truly aware? Time doesn't wait. Each passing moment is a piece of our life we can never get back. And the real tragedy isn't that we die, but that we never really lived. 2. Living right, returning to what's true. Living right doesn't mean conforming to external standards. It means living in alignment with your own heart, listening to your conscience, choosing what's honest, compassionate, and wise, even when it's difficult. To live right is to live by the Dharma, to understand cause and effect, to not trade your values for temporary gain, to plant good seeds with patience and care. When you live in truth, you don't need to explain yourself, because your peace speaks louder than any defense. 3. Living kindly, so life means something. Kindness isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes, it's a soft look, a gentle word, or just being fully present for someone who's struggling. Living kindly means staying open to the pain of others and refusing to add more harm, even with your thoughts. In a world that often feels rushed and hardened, kind people are like fresh water in a desert. They nourish others, and themselves. The Buddha taught, wherever a kind person goes, the atmosphere is peaceful. 4. Living mindfully, not letting life slip by. One of life's greatest tragedies is to live without being awake, to be ruled by habit, pushed around by fear, or carried away by endless distractions. The mindful person stops. They breathe. They see. To live mindfully is to come home to the present moment again and again. It's to witness your breath, your body, your emotions, not to control, but to understand. With mindfulness, even the smallest act can become sacred. It brings light into life, helping us walk with clarity instead of confusion. 5. Today is all you truly have. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We can't guarantee we'll be here next week or even next hour. But we do know this. You are alive right now. This moment is real. This breath is yours. Ask yourself, if today were your last, would you feel peace or regret? Is there something unsaid, unhealed, or unlived inside you? Are you truly living, or just going through the motions? Those who live without wasting life are those who cherish it. They don't wait until loss teaches them to love. They don't wait for illness to value health. They don't wait for death to wake up. They live as if each day could be the last, but not with sorrow, with meaning. 6. In the end, living right. Living kindly, living mindfully is living happily. True happiness doesn't come from possessions, praise, or fleeting pleasures. It comes from a heart that is unburdened, at peace with its choices, free from regret, and rich with presence. When you live right, when you choose kindness, when you stay awake to life, then even if your days are short, they are full. Let us remember the Buddha's words. Practice diligently today, who knows if tomorrow will come. Not to fear death, but to finally, truly live. The meaning of living according to the Buddha. Awakening for oneself, for others, and perfecting enlightenment. Across countless lifetimes, sentient beings wander through the endless cycle of birth, aging, sickness, and death, pain following pain, like a dream with no true awakening. Some may ask, what is the purpose of life? If life is only about chasing possessions, fame, desires, and satisfying instincts, then it becomes a repetitive loop of suffering and attachment. The Buddha, after attaining liberation, taught a deeper truth: we live to awaken. And once we have awakened ourselves, we are called to help others awaken too. Only then is enlightenment complete. Awakening begins from within. It doesn't start by changing the world, but by transforming the mind. To awaken is to clearly see the nature of the body, the mind, and the world, to realize impermanence, suffering, and non-self operating in every passing moment. One who awakens no longer lives on autopilot, but moves through life with mindfulness and wisdom. They no longer chase after fleeting pleasures or react blindly to praise and blame, gain and loss. They pause, observe, and choose to live in alignment with awareness. Awakening isn't about elevating oneself above others, it's the opposite. The deeper the insight, the more humble one becomes in the face of life's vast mystery. To awaken is to turn inward with honesty, to face one's shadows with courage, and to gently dismantle the inner attachments that have bound us through countless lifetimes. Yet the journey doesn't end there. One who truly understands the Dharma cannot live solely for themselves. When the heart opens through insight, it cannot remain indifferent to the suffering of others. In the light of the Buddha's teaching, there is no separation between self and other. We all flow together in this interdependent web of life. Helping others awaken isn't about preaching or imposing. It's a natural outpouring of compassion. Sometimes it's a timely word, a quiet presence, or a patient ear. Sometimes it's simply living so mindfully that others feel peace just by being near. The Buddha did not remain in nirvana after enlightenment. Instead, he walked barefoot through dusty roads, teaching and guiding beings for 45 years without rest. That is the heart of compassion. To return, to serve, to uplift, not out of obligation, but from boundless love. True awakening is not complete until wisdom and compassion are both alive in us. If we only cultivate wisdom, we risk becoming cold and detached. If we only nurture compassion, we may become overwhelmed or entangled. Only when both are fully expressed can we live in balance and freedom. An enlightened being walks through the world without being caught by it. They work, love, serve, and teach, yet remain unattached to outcomes. Their actions come not from ego, but from deep presence. They no longer strive for personal gain, but for the collective awakening of all. We were not born to suffer endlessly, though suffering is part of the path. We were born to learn, to see clearly, and to return to our original nature, luminous and wise. The Buddha once said, "I am a Buddha who has awakened. All beings have the same potential to awaken." Each of us carries the seed of enlightenment. But it must be nurtured, with mindfulness, with practice, and with sincere aspiration. Every experience, joyful or painful, can be a doorway to awakening. Even ordinary moments contain profound teachings, if we are present enough to receive them. Loss, silence, simplicity, all are invitations to return to what is true. When we understand this, we see that our life is not separate from the Dharma. Our breath is the breath of the path. Our footsteps can be the path itself. In that realization, everything becomes practice. In the Mahayana tradition, the Bodhisattva is one who vows not to enter final nirvana until all beings are free from suffering. It is the spirit of deep selflessness, a love so vast that it embraces even those who harm us. When you help someone see their own light, when you offer kindness without expectation, when your presence becomes a refuge for others, you are walking the path of a bodhisattva. You don't need to be a monk or a teacher. Simply living the Dharma is enough. You don't need to change the entire world. Just keeping your own heart awake in a chaotic world is already an act of great courage. If you can help even one person suffer less, find clarity, or live more mindfully, you are continuing the Buddha's work. No one else can awaken for you. No one can meditate, breathe, or let go on your behalf. But the moment you commit to a single breath of awareness, a single act of kindness, a single intention to be free, you have already stepped onto the path walked by the enlightened ones. You don't have to wait to become a Buddha in some distant future to find peace. In the moment you let go of one craving, in the moment you forgive someone, in the moment you remember to be still, you are already living in awakening. This is the essence of living according to the Buddha, to awaken, to help others awaken, and to live each day in harmony with the truth that all things arise and pass away. Nothing is separate. Nothing is wasted. Every breath is an opportunity to return home. Death is not frightening if you've truly lived, the fearless gaze of a practitioner. If you knew that tomorrow morning you wouldn't wake up, how would you spend today? Would you panic? Would you feel regret? Or would you rest calmly, like a leaf gently floating down with the wind? For most people, death is terrifying. They avoid thinking about it, avoid mentioning it, and live as if life will go on forever. But in Buddhism, death is not an end. It's not something to run from. It is simply a part of the great flow of existence, birth and death, coming and going. And for someone who has walked the path of mindfulness, of insight, death no longer holds fear. Because they've truly lived, fully, consciously, and with heart wide open. To live with death in sight is to make every moment count. An awakened person does not wait until the final hours to reflect. They've already seen the impermanence of this fragile body. Understood that this form is only a temporary coming together of the elements. And so, they live each day with deep presence, gratitude, and sincerity. They don't live for tomorrow or get lost in yesterday. They live here and now, because this present moment is all that truly exists. And by fully inhabiting it, when death comes, they're not startled. They don't resist. They welcome it as one who has reached the end of a meaningful journey. Death isn't scary, if you're not holding on to anything. What makes death painful is not the moment itself, but everything we cling to, possessions, reputation, relationships, unfinished dreams. The tighter we hold, the more fearful we become. Death becomes a thief, snatching away the things we aren't ready to let go of. But for a practitioner who meditates daily, who contemplates impermanence deeply, letting go becomes a way of life. They slowly release ambition, resentment, attachments, even the idea of a fixed self. When there's nothing to grasp, there's nothing for death to take. The mind becomes free. The heart becomes light. Life and death are just one flow, like clouds drifting across the sky. In the light of Buddhist wisdom, life and death are not opposites. They are two sides of the same current. Like day and night, like the tide rising and falling. There is no birth without death, no death without the promise of something new. A cloud doesn't disappear when it dissolves. It becomes rain. Mist, a flowing stream. The body, too, dissolves. But consciousness, karma, and the energy of everything we've thought, felt, and done continues, whether into rebirth, or into liberation. A true practitioner sees this clearly. So they no longer grasp. They no longer fear. They do not live clinging to length, but to depth, to the quality of their presence and compassion. Death is the deepest wake-up call, a reminder to live honestly. Nothing wakes us up quite like the awareness of death. It makes us pause and ask, how am I really living? Am I being true to myself? Or just surviving, caught in obligations, fears, and illusions? Faced with death, the superficial things fall away. The masks, the roles, the petty dramas, they all lose their power. What remains are only the essential things: love, forgiveness, kindness, awareness. A Buddhist doesn't wait until the end to learn that lesson. They practice dying every day, dying to ego, dying to anger, dying to the need to always be right. And in doing so, they're reborn in each moment, wiser, freer, more real. One who does not fear death is one who has learned to live. Maybe you're not enlightened yet. Maybe death still scares you. That's okay. You can begin simply by choosing to live more truthfully, more mindfully, starting now. Don't postpone your life. Don't let it slip by in noise and busyness. Live so that when you wake each morning, you feel grateful just to be alive. And when you lay down at night, you can rest peacefully, nothing left unsaid, nothing left undone. Live in such a way that when death comes, it finds you ready. That you can smile and greet it like an old friend. Not because you've conquered it, but because you've made peace with it. Because you've lived with love, clarity, and no regrets. Birth and death are a river, learn to flow with it, not fight it. The Buddha never told us to run from death. He showed us how to understand it, to rise above it through wisdom. As he said, one who sees impermanence sees the path to freedom. Nothing lasts. No one stays. But something does endure, the heart and mind shaped by presence, compassion, and letting go. When you live this way, death no longer feels like a cliff, it becomes a doorway. You stop worrying about where you'll go or what comes next. You know you've walked the path. You've lived honestly. And whatever lies beyond will simply be another step on the journey home, toward peace, toward silence, toward awakening. When we truly face the reality of impermanence, that each day brings us one step closer to death, we begin to ask, how can I live a life that truly matters? The answer isn't found in lofty theories, but in how we live each ordinary day, through every choice, every action, every moment of awareness. In the light of the Buddha's teachings, living meaningfully doesn't mean becoming someone great or achieving something extraordinary. It means living in truth, living with awareness, and living with a heart full of compassion. Here are 4 simple but powerful practices that help us return to a life of depth, peace, and clarity: mindfulness, generosity, kindness, and non-attachment. Mindfulness, being fully alive in each moment. Mindfulness is the root of awakened living. Without it, we move through life like machines, eating without tasting, walking without feeling, speaking without knowing what we're saying. Our minds are often lost in the past or racing toward the future. The present moment, where life truly happens, is neglected. To live mindfully is to come back to the breath. When eating, know you're eating. When washing the dishes, be with the dishes. When walking, feel your feet on the earth. Miraculously, when the mind returns to the body, when we are fully present, suffering softens, confusion clears, and life becomes vivid and real. You don't need to quit your job, climb a mountain, or enter a monastery to live mindfully. It begins with something as simple as fully sipping your tea, or pausing to feel the rain on your skin. Generosity, life is meant to be shared, not hoarded. One of the quickest ways to feel empty inside is to live only for oneself. The more we try to gather and protect, the more we fear loss. The more self-centered we become, the more disconnected we feel. But when we begin to give, whether it's a smile, a meal, a kind word, or a helping hand, our hearts begin to open. There is a joy that comes not from gaining, but from giving. True generosity is giving without expecting anything in return. Giving is not just about material offerings. It's also about time, attention, presence, and forgiveness. When we give with an open heart, even in small ways, we're planting seeds of freedom, not only for others, but for ourselves. Kindness, turning everyday acts into sacred practice. In Buddhism, doing good doesn't mean grand gestures. It simply means acting from compassion and clarity, doing no harm to oneself or others. A gentle word can soothe someone's hidden sorrow. A quiet act of patience can ripple out far beyond what we imagine. We don't have to wait for some perfect condition to be kind. Every moment is an opportunity. Tidy your living space with care. Work with integrity, speak with respect, forgive when you can, and love those near you without demand. And perhaps most importantly, be honest with yourself. Be kind enough not to betray your own values, just to please the world or chase recognition. Non-attachment, the secret to inner freedom. Much of our suffering doesn't come from what happens to us, but from the way we cling to things, to ideas, identities, outcomes, and control. We want everything to go a certain way. And when it doesn't, we feel shattered. But non-attachment is not about giving up. It's about letting go of the illusion that we can, or should, control everything. To live freely is to release the need to always be right, to be praised, to win, to keep. It's to understand that everything in life, both joy and pain, flows in and out like the tide. And when we stop clinging, we begin to breathe again. Bringing it all together, a life of deep meaning. With mindfulness, we wake up to life. With generosity, we open our hearts. With kindness, we plant seeds of goodness. With non-attachment, we find peace in the middle of change. You don't have to do anything big to live meaningfully. Just wake up each morning and remember that being alive is a miracle. Breathe in and know you're still here. Breathe out and let go of tension, fear, and the need to control. And at the end of the day, may you smile, not because everything was perfect, but because you lived this one day deeply, kindly, and fully. Life is short, but it can be deeply meaningful. How would you live if you knew tomorrow was your last day? Most of us live as if we have forever. We put off what truly matters. We waste precious time on trivial things and let days slip by without ever really touching the depth of life. But what if someone came to you today and gently said, "Tomorrow will be your last day"? What would you do? There would be no time left for anger, blame, or keeping score. No time for chasing fame, fortune, or things that never truly made you happy. Maybe, in that moment, all you'd really want is one more hug, one honest apology, or a quiet afternoon sitting beside someone you love. No rush. No pressure, just presence. Death, which we so often see as an end, can actually be a powerful mirror. It shows us how we're living. And it's because life is finite that it becomes so precious. When we truly realize that, every moment starts to shine, not because it's long, but because it's full. Are you really living? A lot of people exist, but they don't live. They wake up, work, eat, scroll, and sleep. Repeat. Day after day, like a clock ticking on autopilot. They live in the future, worrying about things that haven't happened. Or they live in the past, regretting things they can't change. But rarely do they live in the present. And that's how life slips through their fingers. A meaningful life isn't measured in years, it's measured in depth. Someone can live 80 years and never truly feel joy, while another may live only 30 years but fill each moment with love, awareness, and intention. If tomorrow were your last day, if you knew you only had one more day, would you still argue with the person you love? Or would you pause, look into their eyes, and feel grateful that they once walked beside you? Would you still worry about what people think of you? About whether you're good enough? Or would you let all that fall away and spend your final hours listening to your favorite song, writing a few heartfelt words, or watching the sky one last time, with peace in your heart? Death reminds us, live. Don't wait until it's too late. Living deeply is living mindfully. According to the Buddhist teachings, an awakened person is one who sees impermanence in every breath. They don't chase desires. They don't cling to anger or delusion. They live simply, humbly, and always return to the stillness within. Living deeply doesn't mean you need to retreat to a mountain. It means showing up fully, right here, in daily life, with an open heart and a calm mind. They eat with mindfulness. They speak with kindness. They work with care. They love without clinging. And they let go without fear. Such a person doesn't fear death, because they've already learned how to truly live. A life doesn't need to be long, only deep. You don't need decades to understand joy. All it takes is the courage to slow down, to listen within, and to live honestly. A quiet morning walk beneath the trees. A gentle hand held in love. A moment of forgiveness long overdue. A tear shed, not out of pain, but from feeling truly alive. That's a life well lived. Are you living or just waiting to die? Some people die at 30 but aren't buried until they're 70. They stopped living long ago, when they gave up on their dreams, when they let themselves be swept away by busyness, when they stopped seeing beauty in an ordinary sunset. If that sounds like you, it's not too late. You still have today. Today is your chance to begin again. To come home to yourself. To love. To forgive. To breathe mindfully. No one knows what tomorrow will bring, but you can live today in a way that, if it were your last, you'd meet it with a peaceful smile. Final thought, death isn't scary when you've truly lived. Life is a short journey, but if you walk it with honesty, clarity, and an open heart, each step becomes sacred. You don't have to do something extraordinary. Just be real. Because when death arrives, you won't take your money, titles, or achievements. What you carry with you are the moments you truly lived, with a clear mind, a compassionate heart, and deep presence. If today were your last, would you live it differently? And if the answer is yes, why not start now? Death isn't something to fear. It's a gentle reminder, don't fall asleep in life. Most of us live as if we're immortal. We plan for next year, for the next 10 years, and yet, we forget that even tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And in that forgetting, we let moments slip by, unnoticed, unlived. But then, something happens. A loss. A diagnosis. A sudden goodbye. And just like that, the illusion fades. We see clearly, life is fragile. And time. Far more limited than we think. Ironically, death, the thing we fear the most, can become our greatest teacher. It doesn't come to take, but to awaken. It shakes us out of the numbness, the postponing, the meaningless routines we call daily life. This breath is a miracle. This gaze, a gift. This very moment, sacred. When you truly acknowledge death, you can no longer live on autopilot. You stop wasting energy on petty arguments. You stop living to prove yourself. Instead, you live as if every moment is your last chance to love, to forgive, to smile. You pause. You look deeply into your loved one's eyes and realize how fleeting it all is. You listen with an open heart. You eat a simple meal as if it were your last, not with sadness, but with full presence and gratitude. Because when you know it can all end in a heartbeat, you begin to live as if everything is a blessing. Living fully isn't about doing more. It's about being more present in what you do. You don't need to be someone great. Just be wholeheartedly yourself. Drink your tea with awareness. Hold someone's hand without clinging. Smile at a stranger with the recognition that we all belong to one another. To live fully means, don't wait for a special day to say, I love you. Don't postpone kindness until the timing is right. Don't wait for the weekend to meditate or return to yourself. You may not get to choose when death comes, but you do get to choose how you live, right now. The Buddha taught, practice diligently today. Who knows if you will be here tomorrow? This isn't a warning to make you afraid. It's an invitation to return. To come back to the now. To yourself. To the path of awakening. Because in each moment of true presence, you are already walking toward enlightenment. Awareness doesn't need a special retreat. It begins the moment you stop, to feel a breath. To take a step mindfully. To notice sunlight filtering through leaves. To touch sorrow gently. To embrace a hug that's still warm. And then, you realize, you don't need a near-death experience to appreciate life. Each day lived in mindfulness is already a complete life. If these words spark something in your heart, let it bloom softly. Don't force it. Just live with it, gently. Start small. One deep breath before replying to someone. One kind act without expecting anything back. 1 minute without your phone, just looking at the sky. One honest moment of forgiveness, for others, or yourself. Don't wait for a crisis to start living. Death is always just around the corner. But that's exactly why life can shine so brightly. Live as if this is your last day, not in fear, but in deep, humble gratitude. We are walking this path of impermanence, together. You're not alone. There are many of us, like you, like me, trying to wake up, to love more wisely, to let go more gently. In the midst of life's constant changes, we can still walk hand in hand, not to hold on, but to remind one another to come home. Home to the awake heart. Home to the quiet miracle of life unfolding moment by moment. Because in the end, it's not about how long you live. It's about how deeply you've lived. If this video sparks something within you, Share your reflections in the comments. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. And if you'd like to keep walking this mindful path together, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so you never miss a video grounded in the Buddha's timeless wisdom and heartfelt reflections. Let's keep walking, breath by breath, awake, aware, and fully alive.